Computing, Instrumentation, and Control Technologies 2022. Now we have the second keynote address of this day, and we have with us Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi, Assistant Research Professor, Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University, Saudi Arabia. We have a short profile about Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi. Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi is currently designated as Assistant Research Professor in Artificial Intelligence at Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University, Saudi Arabia. He is a data science practitioner, mostly deals with machine learning, data mining, and deep learning strategies for large scale, high dimensional, noisy data sets, which involve cybersecurity, biomedical, image processing, and language processing. His work includes researching, developing, and implementing novel computational and machine learning algorithms and applications for big data interpretation and data mining. He have worked on development of cloud-based educational applications, crawling data from websites, storing and processing the large amount of data, data cleaning, designing UI, educational data mining. He's also having experience in data mining, machine learning, and deep learning in terms of NLP, sentimental analysis, text classification. May I now welcome Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi, Assistant Research Professor, Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University, Saudi Arabia, to take the keynote address on the title of Hybrid Efficient Net Deep Learning and Image Visualization for Effective Malware Classification. I request you, sir, to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
sure.
yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My talk is on hybrid efficient net deep learning and image visualization for effective malware classification. So we know nowadays everyone, like we are familiar with the word malware. So basically, malware means software, but it is designed for to damage or exploit a computer, or it may be a server or a network. And basically, cyber criminals use this malware to steal data. So the data can be financial data, customer related data, or health related information. And there are many types of malware. So most commonly used malwares are backdoors, spyware, adware, worm, virus, trojans, and there are many more. So based on the operating system, we can classify the malware into different types. And further, we can also classify the malware into different families based on their functionality. So basically, these sub malware families are self similar in nature. It means it looks very similar, but the functionality will be different. So nowadays, most of the cyber criminals, they don't really create a new malware. So instead of that, what everybody does is that they take the existing malware and they take some small modifications and they come up with a new malware. So we can see in this slide, like we can see like the number of malwares has been increasing over the years. And this report, I have taken it from AB test. This was taken recently from 2020. 2021 cybersecurity report. So in the industry, like there are many techniques to deal with malwares. Basically, the techniques are classified into four different categories. The techniques are: one is static analysis, dynamic analysis, signature based approaches, then hybrid analysis. And coming to static analysis, in static analysis, basically we analyze the code which is written in the software, and we build the control flow graph. Basically, we don't execute the software, we just see the code, and based on the features, we just try to uh, decide whether the file is malware or legitimate application. And next approach is dynamic analysis. Here, we are going to execute the application in an virtual environment, and we collect all its behaviors. For example, during the execution, how much memory it is going to consume and how much power it is going to consume. So based on these characteristics, we can classify whether the file is malware or legitimate. And third type is signature based. Basically, based for binary files, like it may be a legitimate or malware file. So we construct a signatures like based on the ngram feature representation. So this is called signature based approach. And finally, hybrid analysis. So nowadays, to take advantage from all the techniques, so we combine all like static analysis, dynamic analysis, and signature based approaches. And this type of approach is called as hybrid analysis. So, what are the disadvantages of these existing methods? In static analysis, basically it suffers from code obfuscation. And dynamic analysis is very complex, and it's a time consuming, and it's very expensive. And signature based approach performs well on malwares which is existing. For example, just assume that if someone modifies to the existing malware, then signature based approach completely fails. So to overcome from that, we are working on converting the malwares into a image representation, and further various data based algorithms can be used on this image data. So now let's see how to convert malware into images. So basically, a malwares, it will be in the form of hexadecimal representation. So we can easily convert hexadecimal into binary representation. So it will be in the form of zeros and ones. So if you take a 1 byte representation, there will be 8 bits, and each bit has zeros and ones. Basically, 0 defines white and 1 defines black. So like this, we convert the malwares into a grayscale image representation. So a malware or a legitimate file contains n number of sections. And some important sections are code, zero padding, ASCII text, initialized data, and zero padding. So these are different sections of a binary file. And you can see in each sections, like we are able to see a different texture. Like by looking at the image, we will be able to, see a different textures for different sections in a binary file. So basically nowadays, cyber criminals makes small modifications to the file to create a new malware. For example, by looking at the image, like we can easily see, and we can easily, identify where actually the cyber criminals are making modifications in a binary file to create a new malware. So that's the advantage of visual based representation of malware detection. And in this study, for analysis purpose, we use a well-known benchmark dataset that is publicly available, because we have to show that our algorithm performs better compared to the existing approaches. So that's why we are using the benchmark dataset. So the dataset name is Microsoft Malware Classification Dataset. So basically, it has 9 malware families, and each class has sufficient number of malwares. Like for example, only very SIMDA has very less number of data samples, and other malware families, most of them have like more than 500 malware data samples. So from this data, we divide randomly 57 percentage for training, 10 percentage for validation, and 33 percentage for testing. So what we have done is that we converted the Microsoft malware binary file dataset into images. So the image dataset, it looks like this. In this slide, we have randomly chosen some 3 malware files belongs to RAM IT. You can see we can see a different types of texture for, in between the sections, as well as in between the malware data samples. And these samples, these 3 samples are for another malware family called Lollipop. So we can see, like we can visually see that, each file looks different, but these are self similar in nature. So we have used 3 different types of techniques to convert malwares into image representation. So method 1. In method 1, first, the first step is we have converted the hexadecimal bytes into decimal integers. Basically, the hexadecimal representation is converted into zeros and one form. And next, we have estimated the total number of bytes in a file to decide the dimensions of the image. And we statically set the width into 512. So it is fixed for each malware file. But height of the image depends on each byte divided by total bytes of the width. Basically, total width is 512 here. It remains same for every binary file. And fourth step, like in binary file, we found like some uh, extra information that are question marks. So what we have done is that we have like, since we will not be able to decode these question marks into zeros and one form, so we have taken it as FF. And some files like contains less number of bytes, and some files contains more number of bytes. So to make it, same number of bytes for all the binary files, we have appended with zeros. Then finally, the images are saved in 8-bit pixel black and white images, and these are saved as PNG files. So 8-bit means we will be having 2 into 2 raised to 8 combinations. And method 2. Method 2 follows the same approach as method 1, but instead of fixed width, in method 2, we are choosing the width randomly, one among 32, 64, 128, 256, 384, 512, 768, 1024. And this will be chosen based on the initial and the end address of each byte file in a malware binary. And finally, basically, the bytes are converted into images and we save it as .png. And the method remains same as method one. Method two, rest of the steps remain same as method one. And method three. In method three, instead of converting the bytes into directly a decimal representation, here we encode it using UTF-8 variable, and we also use like a compression. And basically, to choose the width of the image, we take square root of compressed byte string. And once we estimate the width of a file, then we convert the raw bytes into a binary format and using the same steps of method one. And why we are using here three different methods? Because we have to show that the method which we are proposing for converting malwares into images performs better. So that's the reason we are trying out different ways of representation techniques to transform the binary files into an image file. So this is about image binary file to image transformation. So after converting the data into images, next we have to use data analysis. So as we know in the literature nowadays, there are many algorithms available. Like like nowadays the deep learning methods are performing better compared to some classical machine learning approaches based on the literature survey that we have done. And like we know that like deep learning, we no need to rely on feature extraction and feature engineering approaches. So that's the reason, like we in this work we have decided directly to go with a deep learning approach. And in deep learning there are many methods available, like most commonly, like we can classify into convolutional neural network and recurrent neural network. So since our data base is in the form of images, we have decided to use convolutional neural network. So basically, it's a neural network. Like we have an input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. But in the hidden layer, in convolutional neural network, we use some operations. The operations are convolution. Then, like after convolution, we use a nonlinearity function, and finally, we use a pooling, basically to reduce the number of features which we learn in convolution operation. So let's discuss a very brief what do you mean by convolution and how it works. So basically, just assume that in this slide you can see a matrix. So just assume that this matrix is a binary file, a malware or legitimate data, and I'm just taking a filter randomly. So I'm using 2 cross 2 filter, so which has weights like like I have taken randomly, like it has 5, zero point 0.2, zero point 0.7, minus 0.5, 0.7. So in convolution operation, what we does is that we just multiply filter with the data what we have. Like for example, you can see here in the data we have, if you take the first 2 cross 2 matrix, we have 1360. So 1 will be multiplied with zero point 0.2, then 0.7 into 3, minus 0.5 into 6, zero point 0.7 into 0. So it's a simple, like, multiplication. And basically we do here multiplication, addition, and subtraction operation. So by like this, we apply the same filter operation on each and every 2 cross 2 matrix in the overall data. So finally, we get a feature representation, and the dimensionality of this feature representation will be bigger compared to data what we have. So if our data dimension is too large, basically, like we get into a several issue, like in order to overcome from that. So after convolution operation, we basically use pooling. It can be a max pooling, mean pooling, or average pooling. Basically, from the 2 cross 2 metrics, we if we use max pooling, we just take the like maximum element. If it is average pooling, we just calculate the average of all the numbers in the 2 plus 2 matrix. So it's a simple mathematical approach. So this is about convolutional neural network. And but nowadays, since our data is in the form of images, so based on the literature survey, we found that instead of directly using convolutional neural network, we found that there are many pre-trained models available in the literature. So basically, recent days, what everybody is doing is that they just take the existing pre-trained model and they fine tune the model with the data set. With the data set what we have, this data set can be from any domain. It can be medical, or it can be security, or it can be any other domain. So basically, these pre-trained models are trained on basic images, like like for example, cat, elephant, and so like this, based on different objects. So they like there are well-known standard pre-trained models available, and these pre-trained models can be fine-tuned on new domain data set. And this type of training or learning approach is called as transfer learning. And in our work, we use transfer learning instead of a convolutional neural network, because when we ran some experiments, we found that transfer learning, even though our data set is security domain, transfer learning performed better than compared to a convolutional neural network. So this is just a diagrammatic representation. You can see network K, it's a pre-trained model. And if you take network B as, a fine-tuned model, basically from network A, we just take the existing weights and we fine-tune with the new data set what we have. For example, in our case, we fine-tune with malware data set. So there are many pre-trained models available. Like some of the pre-trained models we used in our work are VGJ16, ResNet 15, ResNet 152 V2, Inception V3, Efficient Net B1. Basically, all these are like these models built based on convolutional neural network. But these networks will have more number of convolutional layers. So that's the major difference between these five different models. And in this work, we are just using these five different models for analysis purpose. So this is the overview of the proposed architecture for malware classification based on efficient net pre-trained model. So basically, in input layer, we will be having our data in the form of images, and next layer we will have a efficient net model. And you can see after efficient net, we take we include global average pooling layer after last layer of pre-trained model. After that, finally, in the output layer, we are going to define the number of classes for classification. So basically, in our case, we have nine different malware families. So the output dimension will be 9, and all the input layer data will have a dimension 256 cross 256. And all these models are implemented using TensorFlow library. And for next, for performance metrics, and just for demonstration purpose, like here we are including only the accuracy. But along with accuracy, other metrics are also important. For example, precision, recall, and F1 score. But here we are just going to consider only the accuracy. So the accuracy, the equation for accuracy is true positive plus true negative divided by true positive plus true negative plus false positive plus false negative. True positive means the malware file identified as malware. True negative, legitimate identified as legitimate. False positive means legitimate file misclassified as malware. False negative means malware file misclassified as legitimate. And we know that in like deep learning, the final optimal performance implicitly depends on the parameters. The parameters plays an important role. So in experimental analysis, we have fine tuned the model uh, for four parameters. The parameters are batch size, learning rate, epochs, optimizer. So for batch size, we basically what we did is that we just ran some like trials of experiments for batch size like 32, 64, 128. So we stopped at 128. And learning rate, like we specified a range like from 0.0001 to zero point 0.1. And epochs, we ran till like from 0 to around 25, like we ran till 25. Optimizer, we just run for ADAM and stochastic gradient descent. And based on the experimental analysis, we found that the best parameters for batch size is 64, learning rate is 0.0001, epochs is 10, optimizer is ADAM. So basically, we ran some trials of experiments, and we have chosen these optimal parameters based on these experiments. And we ran all five different pre-trained models on all the data sets. Basically, we ran these five models on three different image representation of Microsoft malware classification challenge data. And we can see here the performance on method 1 is good compared to method 2 and method 3. In addition to that, we can see the performance of efficient net is good compared to other pre-trained model. And these are the model parameter details of all the five pre-trained model, and these parameter details remain same for all three different representation of malware dataset. We can see from the table in this slide, efficient network has less number of parameters compared to other pre-trained models. In addition to the parameters, we can see the efficient net, the total size of efficient net in terms of MB, it is only 31 MB, but other models size is very big. So the complexity, like the time and space complexity of efficient net model will be lesser compared to other four different pre-trained models. And this is the confusion metrics obtained for method 1 dataset by efficient net model. We can see from the confusion metrics for all the malware families, it almost able to classify properly. Only for obfuscator malware, obfuscator.acy malware, it has more misclassification. It has around 16, 18, around 20 misclassification for obfuscator malware. But other than this other 8 malwares, like it has only like very few misclassification, one or two misclassification. And these are method one malware image dataset and method two data. You can see here also for method 2 dataset, more number of misclassification is happening on obfuscator malware. And method 3 dataset. Here also efficient net model showing more misclassification for obfuscator malware family. So we can see here the data set is same, but the image representation is different. But we are getting misclassification, more misclassification for obfuscator malware family, and it remains same in all three different image representation. So it indicates that we might need a more number of data samples for obfuscator malware family, or there may be chance that there is similar properties between obfuscator and RAM IT malware family, because 19 obfuscator malwares are misclassified to RAM IT. So we might need to do some detailed analysis why this misclassification is happening. And we need to find a some features where we can easily classify the malware families of obfuscator and RAM IT. Then we can say that our proposed approach is robust. And because if you take other malware families, even though other malware families have misclassification, but other malwares have very less number of misclassification compared to obfuscator malware family on all three different types of image representation methods. So next, what we have done is that we have like in this slide, you can see there are three different malwares, and like all three binary files almost looks similar. So these are self similar. That's why we say subfamilies of malwares are self similar in nature. So we discussed uh, in the previous slides. Nowadays, cyber criminals use the existing malware, and they just make some small modifications. For example, just assume that like we have a software file, and in order to make the software, like for example, if it works properly, and just assume that we have to make some modifications uh, in such a way that it has to give some error, like, so in such cases, like for example, what we can do is that we can put some additional while loop, or some introduction of some different loops in some places in a software file to make it the code runs infinitely. So it's a simple modifications. And so like this, nowadays most of the cyber malware researchers take the existing file and they make some simple modifications. And identifying this simple region is very important. And if we use a convolutional neural network to identify this tiny region, uh, I, there may be possibility that the performance will not be more accurate, because basically, even though in convolution we like we learn features across the, like all the submetrics in the overall data metrics. There may be possibility that CNN might miss some important features. So in order to overcome from that, in the next set of experiments, we have used something called attention model. So what we did is that after extracting the features from the fine-tuned model, we have used attention layer instead of global average pooling. So basically, if you use global average pooling, it irrespective of, there may be chance that it might miss important features. So in order to learn the important features, we use attention here instead of global average pooling. So attention extracts the important features, and after learning the important features for classification, we use the fully connected network, like fully connected layer with number of classes. In our case, we have 9 malware families. And you can see in this slide, the result obtained using attention-based efficient net model is 99.7%. And without attention, we were able to get only 99% accuracy on method 1 image representation approach. So we can see we were able to get almost 0.7 percentage performance improvement using attention layer in CNN model on method 1 dataset. In addition to that, if you look at method 2 image representation and method 3 image representation approaches, on method 2, we were able to get 0.4 percentage performance improvement in accuracy. On method 3, we were able to get 0.5 percentage performance improvement. So overall, we can see that the attention-based CNN models showing better performance on all image representation datasets compared to CNN methods. So basically, there are many types of attentions available, and in this work, we used multi-headed attention model, which helped us to extract that tiny region of the malware in an entire binary file, and we were able to get better performance. So we have to, uh, we have to visualize and see why we are getting 90 above 90 percentage performance. And there are many visualization methods are available, like after learning, uh, after training the model, we can extract the features from the model, and we can use various visualization approaches to see how the features are placed in an n-dimensional plane. And in our work, we used a Disney representation. So basically, in Disney, it uses, basically it implicitly uses principal component analysis. So what it does is that, for example, if we have a number of features, just assume that we have 30 crust in metrics and 30 rows and a number of columns. Basically, each column is a feature. And this type of metrics can be passed into a Disney, and which uses principal component analysis, which converts 30 crust in metrics into 30 crust 2. So basically, it converts a number of features to 2 features. Then that 30 crust 2 metrics can be represented in X and Y axis. So we use the same methodology, and we extracted the features of the proposed attention-based CNN model, and And in this slide, we can see there are three different Disney representation. And from left to right, the first Disney is for the first image representation approach. Second one is for second image representation approach. And third one is for third image representation approach. And we can visually see like a similar data appears in same cluster in all three different Disney images. But if you look at carefully, compared to the second and third Disney images, the cluster formation in the first Disney image from left to right is much better. So it's able to, almost it's able to completely differentiate among all the malware families. And we can see there are there is a similar feature among RAM, IT, and other malware families. So like there like we have to understand why like we are getting this type of a visual representation of features, so that like we can in future we can introduce additional features so that we will be able to get a clear cluster formation for RAM, IT, and other malware families. And so after discussing all, we know that the image-based representation using CNN-based deep learning pre-trained model shows better performance. And like, then why we have to use image-based malware detection? Why not static analysis like code-based techniques, and why not dynamic analysis, and why not other signature-based approaches? Because image-based malware detection representation approaches is very fast, and it is very less expensive in terms of cost and in terms of other parameters. And we no need to execute the binary file in a virtual environment if you use image-based malware detection. And we no need to assemble. For example, if you use static analysis, we have to use some standard industry-based disassembler so that we get a code files, and after that we need a domain expertise in security domain to analyze the code and to decide whether the file is malware or legitimate. But in image based malware detection methods, we no need to uh, either execute the malware, or we no need to disassemble. And most importantly, it is platform independent. It means it can work on Windows, and it may be like Ubuntu or other Linux based flavors of operating system. And it can also work on Mac and other operating system. But if you look at other techniques, those methods are not actually platform independent. And that's the advantage of major advantage of image based malware detection. And another advantage is it is resilient to both packed and unpacked malware. And during the experimental analysis, we have done analysis for detecting both packed and unpacked malware, and we were able to detect a packed malware. So because in recent days, to bypass the static analysis and signature based approaches, cyber criminals uses packers. These packers, the well-known packers are publicly available, so anybody can take, and anybody can download the malwares from various websites, and they can use packers and they can get a new types of malware, and using that they will be able to do various malicious activities. And obviously the existing static analysis and signature based approaches are not able to detect these packed malware, but image based malware detection are resilient to both packed as well as unpacked malware. And in addition to that, the image based malware techniques has the capability to handle strong encryption. It means the cryptography approaches, code obfuscation, polymorphic, and metamorphic. Whereas the static analysis techniques are not able to detect the malwares which uses the encryption techniques, code obfuscation, polymorphic, and metamorphic malware. So these are the advantages of image-based malware techniques compared to the existing static analysis, signature-based, dynamic analysis, and hybrid techniques. Then what are the limitations of this image-based malware techniques? The major limitation is, since the image-based malware approach is completely data-driven, it means like we just convert the malware file into images, and after that we use some data-based algorithm to decide whether the file is the malware or legitimate. The main limitation is it won't meet 0-day malware detection. Basically it works well for the malwares which we have used, like the malwares which we have used during the training, or there may be a certain extent like to detect a similar malware, but we don't have a like kind of we cannot say that the proposed image like malware detection is completely able to detect a new types of malware. So we haven't done any kinds of detailed experimental analysis on this. So this has to be done in order to say that the image-based malware detection achieves 0-day malware attacks. So that is considered as one of the significant directions towards future work. And we recently, like we have done like we are preparing few drafts, and also like some papers already published, and in well-known journals like computer and security and computational intelligence, and some papers are under review in journals like Journal of Information Security and Applications, Multimedia Tools and Applications, and Computational Intelligence. Like based on this work, we have done five like publications, and two are published and three are under review. So these are major like two references which we have used in our work. Thank you everyone, and if you have any questions, let me know.
If the participants have any questions or queries related to this particular session, kindly you can ask your queries and clear it out right now. The session is open for clearing your queries. The participants can either unmute your audio or you can have your questions in your chat box so that we can communicate the question with the resource person. and your questions can be cleared right now.
Ma'am, if there is no questions, we can wind up the session. Just to give the vote of thanks to the
Okay, sir,
keynote
fine.
speaker.
Yeah, yeah, fine, sir. Okay.
Okay, and
So,
invite the participants for the 12:30 session also.
okay, sir. Yeah, fine. So, to that, we come to the end of the keynote second of this day of this international conference. Thank you, sir. I am very grateful to Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi, Assistant Research Professor, Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University, Saudi Arabia, for giving such a wonderful, informative session which has been shared for all of us on the title A Hybrid Efficient Net Deep Learning and Image Visualization for Effective Malware Classification. We are grateful to you for spending your valuable time with us. We really appreciate your acceptance for being a part of this conference. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Hope we'll have many more sessions of yours in future. We wish you all the very best for all your endeavors in your future. Thank you so much, sir, once again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. So, dear participants, next section will be at 12:30 by an Singapore professor, that is Hong Swang. She will handle the AR for manufacturing. I hope that also will be interesting. And you can join here.
And in 2013, she was awarded the Singapore Youth Award Medal of Commendation for attaining significantly higher levels of achievements and contributions to society. She was also appointed by Singapore President S.R. Nathan to serve as a nominated member of the Singapore Parliament for a term of 2.5 years from 2nd January 2005. She is passionate about gender diversity and leadership in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and also in particular engineering. It's our immense pleasure to welcome Professor Ong So Kim, Associate Professor, Manufacturing, College of Design and Engineering, National University of Singapore, for the final keynote address of our second day of Third International Conference on Intelligent Computing, Instrumentation, and Control Technologies 2022, wherein she is going to handle on the title Augmented Reality Application in Manufacturing. So, ma'am, over to you. You can take over the session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Since you've already introduced me, I would skip this because I actually was originally going to introduce myself. So thank you for the very kind introduction. And so my topic today is on augmented reality in manufacturing. And essentially, I will introduce a very broad overview of augmented reality in manufacturing and some of the critical issues that we have to consider before we even embark on augmented reality in manufacturing, because not all applications in manufacturing are suited for augmented reality. So as a very brief introduction, we actually see augmented reality in our everyday life, our Pokemon game, our mobile phone, and so forth. So augmented reality is everyday reality that we have around us. To them. For example, children, when she go to a museum, she'll see interesting games, for example, associated with the exhibition. A senior person going to the museum will receive more in-depth information of, for example, the a Mona Lisa painting. So it has broadly applied exhibition. In education, for example, there are many applications using AR for teaching purpose, like in anatomy, in physics, and so forth. Construction has been a good example of application of augmented reality where it has been applied in the construction site where you can actually see virtual overlay of buildings before you even build them. And then there is the interior design, which is pretty common in the case of IKEA. IKEA has an application where user can look at selected pieces of furniture at their home before they even purchase the furniture. So that is in the case of interior design and decoration. In military, it has been applied where we could have a fighter jet looking at what they are looking, and then they are augmented with additional information. Navigation, where we could travel, and then it can tell us information as to which exit we should take before we want to reach a certain place. And then history, for example, ruins can be superimposed where we could see what it was like a few thousand years ago. So that is in the case of history. Sports, this is so common. We have seen this in the Commonwealth game where you can see the swimmer swimming and informations are augmented. We could see the soccer game going on and then informations are augmented. Gaming, of course, everybody know this. And advertising is a very good example of application of augmented reality. So all these applications that I have been showing, they're not engineering, they're not manufacturing. So what I'm going to talk about will more be into manufacturing engineering, which require a different level of constraint on augmented reality, a different level of accuracy required. So in the case of augmented reality, you can actually transform the engineering work site, the manufacturing engineering workplace through augmented reality. So we know engineering system, manufacturing system, they can be very complex, like a petroleum plant, for example. And if this engineering system are so complex, we can actually apply augmented reality to them to enhance the workplace. So for example, this is a video of a complex engineering system. Uh, I'm trying to share the audio because there is a message to say there is no uh, 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 but I do not know how to share the audio. I'm very sorry, I do not know how to share the audio. Share the audio. Uh,
Ma'am, that video is in different tab means you can
uh,
share with a tab. A tab
so the
again present a tab.
Just now, may I ask, can you hear the audio from the video?
From the video, we are not getting the audio actually. But what we are
Can
talking, we
you
are listening.
can
Yeah.
you tell me how to share the sound from the audio, from the video?
Uh, just you share. That is, you press that present a tab.
Yeah, there is a present. There is a the tab itself.
Yeah,
Uh,
present a tab. You just you press the tab.
but there is no sound from the video that I'm showing you, right? How do I share the sound from the video?
Oh,
You understand what I mean?
okay, okay. I could get. Okay, sir. Okay, ma'am. You continue. Oh, sure.
Because I don't know how to share the sound from the video. And it's okay. I just continue on.
Yeah,
Aiya.
yeah.
So, augmented reality has a potential to provide far more values to today's workplace. And as you see in the video, it can actually integrate digital information into ways that engineers, workers can perceive the real world, allowing them to see things and get information seamlessly to guide them in their choices and their action in real time so that they can accomplish tasks. And augmented reality in that way is actually allowing them to see information in a very new way. So this is an example, an engineer can actually see what
Sure.
is happening and know what is out there. So this engineer can check the assembly and then mark it as complete, for example. Now, this is another example where AR can be used in industrial manufacturing space where you can connect the engineers with the maintenance technician and asset, and then visually indicate the condition of the component, for example. Now, this is another example. Imagine an engineer having to maintain a particular equipment, and in this case, it will actually be very difficult to hold a paper manual and to do the maintenance task at the same time. Now, augmented reality will allow you to see information without holding a very thick manual, for example, because you can actually augment the digital information, the digital data, the status of your equipment, the data directly onto your equipment, and therefore the workers and engineers will have immediate access to this vital information. Now, this is another example of data visualization. So you can see information can be augmented onto there. So commercial enterprise can actually see the information, interact with the information. So you could have very complex technical component and you could augment information on them. So you can see that for the first equipment, the status is okay. For the second one, there is a system error, for example. So this is actually very relevant because you can see your data in real time. You can see the status of your equipment in real time. And therefore, you can reduce downtime. So this actually is a very important aspect of augmented reality where you could have data visualization on complex technical component, and that helps your maintenance engineer, that helps your process engineer to be able to maintain the plant more efficiently. So therefore, augmented reality allows us to integrate digital information into various ways where the workers can perceive the real world, and then allowing them to seamlessly use that information to guide them in their choices, in their action in real time as they accomplish their tasks. Now, in augmented reality, there are three main elements that underpin augmented reality. It's not just fanciful augmentation like a Pokemon game. Now, for AR in manufacturing to be useful, to be relevant and efficient, the first thing is the source of data. There must be a particular source of data. Now, the second thing is the way in which this data are presented. How do you want to present the data in such a way that the engineers, the process engineers, the plant engineers can look at them easily without without overloading them. And then the third is the interaction. Being able to augment the information, whether it's a audio, video, or a digital like a 3D model and animation, there should be a form of interaction, because just augmenting the information is not very useful if you do not allow your engineers to be able to interact with them. So the three main elements: source, the way, and the interaction. These three elements combined will make augmented reality a very unique tool with very powerful potential for manufacturing. So the source of data, the way the data is presented, as well as the way that the engineers would then interact with the data. So the engineers can be using gesture, using voice command, or using gaze attention. The information can be overlaid as a visual. You can also provide it as an audio, or you can even provide live video augmented onto the workplace. Then, of course, the source of data will come from our IoT network, our cameras, and our sensor. So, in the case of augmented reality in manufacturing, we have to consider the volume and the complexity of the data. Now, data is very useful, it's very invaluable in decision making and task performance. However, a little information is good, but too much can overload. A worker, if he or she is augmented with too much information, that can actually overload the person. So the volume and the complexity of data that we present to the worker, to the engineers, will actually be very critical. Now, the second aspect is the variability of the task, which each iteration of a task, it can be different. And therefore it may also become difficult to filter out relevant pieces of information. Now, in this case, a human may perform better. A computer can handle huge volume of tasks, but in the case of juggling and filtering different types of data, human may be better. So the variability of the task is important. The volume or the complexity of the data are also important. So fundamentally, therefore, augmented reality is allowing human and machine to team together to achieve something that neither could achieve alone. So that is what is augmented reality. So that you can actually look at this chart, which I obtained from the university press: low, high, and then there's a low here, and then there's a high here. So the different evolution of this symbiosis where human and machine can work together. And that's where augmented reality can come in this symbiosis. So specifically could go into the application of augmented reality in manufacturing. The first thing that comes in is maintenance and repair. Now, in any manufacturing plant, we need to have maintenance and repair of the production equipment, whether it's our injection molding machine or CNC molding, or even our 5-axis machine. And therefore, maintenance and repair is actually very crucial. This operation can benefit from augmented reality for diagnostic, for maintenance, repair. And a common use of this is that, manufacture with foreign plants where the workers are not fluent in English or not fluent in a certain language. Augmented reality become very useful because you can then augment the relevant language according to how the workers are skilled, and therefore can help them in the maintenance and the repair. So, a scenario would be a remotely distributed plant where it's very costly to bring an expert on site. In this case, augmented reality can come in where you can provide expert knowledge to these engineers on site. So this is an example to show. Instead of generating PowerPoint or Word file, you could have an augmented reality maintenance guide here. For example, another one here. So it has been found that augmented reality instruction can increase productivity by as much as 40%. Another example here where you could use an iPad, for example. Now, BM has this AR concept, augmented reality, where the mechanical engineer can help in the servicing of the BM automotive using augmented reality. Maintenance, again, for example, would be other cases like, the guy could be wearing AR devices, and then that relay information as to which equipment needs servicing, like in the video I showed just now. And this actually is very good because it takes the guesswork out of the process. So if I were to go to a production plant and I have a series of machine there, or a series of CNC machine or injection molding, I do not need to go and check everyone to find out which one needs maintenance, because information can be augmented to me in real time, and that gets the guesswork out of the place, allowing faster repair, quicker response and recovery time, and therefore that reduce the downtime. So this is a very good example where uh, a maintenance engineer is guided as to what is needed. So this is an example of augmented reality in diagnostic and maintenance. So in this case, this technician can actually wear a head-mounted device, and then he can be provided with information. So this information will help him to know what is needed. So 3D model can be superimposed and help the person during the maintenance process of the automotive. So this is a 3D model that's superimposed. And this is the interaction part. Being able to augment is one aspect. And the three aspect, the last aspect is interaction. Being able to interact with what is augmented is crucial. So this technician here is able to interact with the digital information to find out more about it before he carry out the maintenance procedure. So this is what is happening. Now, in field support is also a very important aspect of manufacturing productivity. AR can actually do this. It can actually be very valuable because you can service very complicated pieces of equipment with very few experienced personnel. So, for example, in the aviation industry, what they do is they provided augmented reality maintenance and repair operation given the very high level of technical expertise. So the technician at the site, at the hangar, can actually tap into the databases of the knowledge and the technical information to access the information they need. So it's actually very useful in the case of technical field support. Inspection and surveying, for example, a remote plant located somewhere. So augmented reality will allow remote inspection and surveying to carry out. And that will be very good because you then fully provide information to someone that is remote, and your expert can be viewing at what your on-field person is looking at doing the inspection and surveying. So this is an example of remote monitoring. So this is a field site that's pretty far away, a mine site, the actual site location. So DXC is a company that has provided augmented reality solution to them, allowing them to look at the result in the headquarters office. So this is a drone that will actually be surveying and then providing the information, and then they can capture the view in real time. And with this information, it can be provided with somebody at the headquarters there. So they are going to wear the head-mounted device and view the location and the information of the real site, and providing the kind of discussion that they can have. So it's a lot richer in discussion and collaboration. So they are both looking at the information and this combined IoT and analytical structure to allow them to look at the data so they can mine analysis, the waste generator, for example. So therefore, they can look at what is happening. So this is remote monitoring, and it's actually a very useful value added aspect of augmented reality. So that is actually remote location. Now, in manufacturing logistic, cargo warehouse operations are actually very critical because supply chain logistic is a very critical aspect. If we cannot get things out, then manufacturing cannot start, production cannot start, and product cannot be shipped out. So warehouse and cargo operations are also very important. And IATA, which represent about 290 airline, they actually began a augmented reality platform in 2018, and they actually reported a 30% improvement in the speed of cargo handling and 90% reduction in errors, which is actually very important. And in this case, what happened is this augmented reality platform is actually provided to the person on site at the cargo or at the warehouse. And this platform will deliver digital work instruction to the cargo operator, allowing them instant access to clear consistent, unambiguous work data, and that allows them to carry out the operation at the warehouse and the cargo correctly, efficiently, and therefore enhances supply in logistic supply chain logistic in operation. And in this case, it also streamlined because in the case of supply chain with their orders and so forth, and even now with all the online purchase, for example, with this AR platform, workers can tap into a connected system that tells them exactly which product, which goods, and then allowing them to access the information at the correct location, and then after that, report the data, deliver it. And that actually is very important because then they could do the correct product lot delivery easily and efficiently. So this actually has already been reported by DHL. DHL has already tested a mobile AR system in their warehouse where they actually let the employee wear smart glasses. And that allowed them to enhance their productivity and reduce the error. And they used it starting in about 2015, where they could allow the workers to carry out supply chain logistic operation at their warehouse. So So Ricoh and DHL together came up with a augmented reality logistic platform. So this is a supply chain information where Ricoh and DHL jointly work together to develop. And in this case, you can see the entire large warehouse. All the workers inside, they wear head-mounted device. They know exactly where to pick up which cargo, which inform product to be put on the belt to be sent out, and there will be little error because all informations are provided to them in real time. So the workers will wear the head-mounted device. So this actually reduces error. So the person will know exactly which trolley to go to, which one to pick up next, the quantity to pick up. So in the case of warehouse operation, it minimizes error, which is actually tremendous because that enhances efficiency and productivity. So this is actually the head-mounted device that every one of them wear. Okay. Now, then after comes training and compliance. Now, in manufacturing, we know we need to train our technician, we need to train our novice engineer. And training them in a classroom is not very useful as compared to on-site training. So augmented reality becomes very useful in training manufacturing technician on-site. And it has been widely demonstrated that if you guide someone through a task and then showing them how to do it visually, it definitely has a greater impact as compared to classroom learning where the person sit down and look at a screen. So this actually is very useful. Training a remote workforce is even a stronger case for augmented reality. So this is an example of augmented reality in training. It's a Fujitsu laptop assembly where they train the worker how to do the assembly operation of a Fujitsu laptop. So components are provided to the person, and then the person will wear a head-mounted device and carry out the operation, and will be trained. So the information will be telling him, okay, pick this up, do this, do that, check this, check that. So in this case, the person is trained in the assembly of this particular server. So this actually is very useful in the case of augmented reality training, and it's also very useful when you train a person in a different language. So for example, if you're in a different country and then you need to provide the training information, augmented reality for training become even more useful because you could have a different language display. And that actually solved the problem of having to do the translation. Now, then there is a hands-on and a safety training as well. Beside on-the-job training, uh, safety is very relevant, very crucial because safety workplace safety is actually a very important aspect. And normally we have novice and new talents on the floor who are unexperienced with it. Of course, they could follow somebody and shadow somebody, but that actually may not be very easy because the person who is being the expert who is being shadowed may need to carry out certain operation. So augmented reality comes useful because you can then provide updates and information to these novice and new talents that tell them what to, so then the expert personnel do not need to be explaining all the time during the process. And therefore, this actually is very crucial. Now, another aspect of augmented reality in safety training is that you could provide information to this novice or new talent, and you then could allow them to start work almost immediately because less dangerous tasks that require little supervision, for example, internship student, for example, can then start with this with augmented information providing to them, and therefore they actually accelerate their integration into the workplace. So this is a hands-on training video. So this helps training because augmented really compresses the timeline for human understanding because you're providing information there, and therefore they see what it is in the reality around them and the information, and therefore that compresses the timeline for human understanding, and therefore accelerated the training process. So you can actually look at all these things, and then the person will be trained as to what to do. So this is actually very useful. It allows the person to understand the procedure. So AR in hands-on training has a tremendous important aspect and value. Now then in design, so I talk about maintenance, I talk about logistic. Then where does design comes in? In manufacturing, in product manufacturing, we talk about in product development, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about design. Now AR can also be used in product design and development. Typically, what happened in a product design is we have design, then we are prototyping, and then we are testing. Augmented reality can significantly cut down this entire chain. It can also cut down the number of iteration needed. We design something, we then test it out. We build a prototype, whether it's a comprehensive prototype or a focused prototype, or whether it's a real physical prototype or a analytical prototype. But that typically is back and forth because you design, you test, and you go back again to your drawing board and you do it. And that can be very time consuming. Now AR can actually make this process much shorter because you can then view what you're doing. You can then have your multi partner collaboration because your different stakeholder can come in. Your designer, your customer, your engineers, your process engineer can come together and discuss, and therefore that shorten and reduce the number of back and forth needed. And augmented reality can also provide a much more personal design process for the customer, because the customer can then come in to see what is actually being there, and actually offer his or her suggestion to it, and that reduce the turnaround time too. So this is an example of a fault where you can actually look at the car before you even build the car. So they can look at the 3D design before they go ahead with it. So information can be viewed as you are designing it without having to build the prototype and test out the prototype. So design collaboration can be enhanced with augmented reality. So they could design this, they could discuss it, they could look at it, and then they could augment it. So that actually shortened the process design, the collaboration process time a lot, and you actually cut down the number of prototype needed too. So it allow people to collaborate together, and that is how it can actually allow engineering, manager, designer to come together. Now, in complex assembly, so I talk about maintenance, repair, training, product design. Assembly is crucial. Products are made of hundreds or even thousands of pieces of component assembled together. So manufacturing require assembly. A Boeing, a fighter plane or whatever, they all require, even our mobile phone has plentiful of parts. And therefore assembly is crucial. Augmented reality can come in this case because augmented reality can allow someone to carry out the assembly process in a less stressful manner, in an error-free manner, and yet enhance efficiency. And Boeing actually has done that. So Boeing has an AR a platform that allows their technician with instruction right in front of their viewfinder so that they know what to do. And this technician, they can use voice command to request for information, and that is a huge saver, time saver, because it reduces the task needed. I mean, imagine the cable harness. There's so many things to be. How would it be possible to remember everything? So this is how wiring comes in. So this is a case of Boeing. So what is happening here is a baseline and a skylight. Skylight is an augmented reality platform that Boeing has for wire harness assembly. So they have a baseline and this skylight, and you can see the difference. That someone who is using augmented reality platform, this person has to be constantly referring to a manual, while this person do not need to because information is provided right in front of him. So this was a test carried out to show the difference. And with augmented reality wiring assembly, it's 34% faster. So in this case itself, Boeing has actually done this, and they could cut the wiring production time by 25% and reduce the error to zero. It's tremendous. Okay, they use augmented reality to build the wire harness for the Boeing aircraft and reduce error to zero. So this is actually an example on the Boeing itself. And look at all this wire harness. It's not easy. So all these wire harness are difficult. So when they first started, they were actually all hard copy instructions, and the person has to be referring to it all the time. So this tremendously reduced the wire harness assembly time, and the technician actually used audio to voice command to request for information. So this actually is tremendous. Error reduced to zero. Now then comes to customer support. In manufacturing, when a product is has been developed, it has to be delivered to the consumer, the customer. And augmented reality is useful in the case of expert support and customer support. Expert support will be support provided from the expert for the expert. And customer support will be you and I. We are the consumer. If we have a particular product, what do we do? So augmented reality, it becomes very useful. And in this case, for example, this vacuum pump manufacturer, they have an augmented reality maintenance guide where they can actually look at it and know what is inside without having to disassemble the vacuum pump. And this is a case of robot where they could allow the person to look at the robot improvement without having to build costly physical prototype there. So it's actually very useful because you transform the landscape and you totally allow them hands-free with audio voice command, and then they could troubleshoot, they could assemble, they could do a lot of things on the industrial shop floor. So this is a case of a remote monitoring, which actually I showed just now. So maybe I should just skip this. Okay. So to summarize what I've been talking about, augmented reality in manufacturing will revolutionize the industry because you can work faster. Information is provided to you. You can solve your daily shop floor problem easily because real-time status information of your machineries are provided to you. Real-time data of your supply chain, for example, your orders are provided to you. And you can access data easily. It can be provided in your head-mounted device. You can use your voice to request for information, and therefore you can prevent errors because informations are provided, up to date informations are provided. And therefore if tasks can be provided and completed easily, you therefore reduce the production downtime and cut down the maintenance time. And of course you can also use it for training. So augmented reality has tremendous potential in manufacturing and revolutionizing the industry. So this is a very good example of augmented reality in the manufacturing industry. So all this information can be provided to allow the person to know what is happening. So this is a particular site. So in the military case, you can see information, you can interact with the information, you can carry out maintenance operation on your equipment. It could be in the training where you could train the person. In the case of automotive that I showed just now, we could provide remote guidance. And then data visualization, and then digital twin. So augmented reality is the connection between what we already have with technology like digital twin, which is actually what is happening now in the industry. The manufacturing industry is moving towards industry 4.0 with digital twin, where you have a digital twin and a physical twin, and that is the way forward. Now, this is a very good study from Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, what they did was they used augmented reality. And they explained that the building of the spacecraft actually required the company to interpret a lot of data. And that data takes time. And if you can place that data spatially right in front, it removes so much of the interpretation. So Patterson, who is the principal investigator, explained that Lockheed Martin actually used a lot of fastener when they built the spacecraft, and AR helps them with the positioning alignment to ensure that the objects are placed within an inch of where they need to be. And some people may think that a fastener is a fastener. Kelly Patterson explained that the average cost, the average saving on labor in the case of a fastener alone was about $38 each. But given that the company has 2 million fastener a year, that is a lot of saving. So it's not just that it's only a fastener. So this is a case of aircraft assembly planning. There. So this is a case of in the case of assembly planning. Now, I talk so much about having it applied to design, applied to logistics, applied to repair, applied to maintenance. Then what about the people, the worker? The workers are the engineers, the process engineers, the design engineers, the maintenance engineer. Now, in manufacturing, not all design planning and manufacturing tasks are suited for AR. So we really need to identify what are the applications that will benefit the workers, whether the designer, engineers, or technician. In terms of the ease of use, the ease of learning new tasks, error-free job execution, as well as reducing the connective load. So at the end of the day, the well-being of the worker, a worker should be a happy worker, equipped with better skill, technology, and able to carry out his work more effectively. So augmented reality will be here, where there's a man, the worker, the task, and the machine. So this has to be a good blend before augmented reality is a good application. Okay. Now, in workforce training is actually very important. Augmented reality is actually very relevant in workforce training. So this is what I showed just now in the case of augmented reality training. Now, before COVID, before pre-COVID, uh, we were already using augmented reality in training. Now that we are moving towards post-COVID, how does augmented reality come in? And I think that's actually is very relevant. So I would like to show you the next video after this, where combining with IoT, combining with our cloud-based services, our cloud computing, edge computing, combining with our mobile application, as well as the latest AR and wearable technology, uh, augmented reality can allow workers to perform operation and repair totally hands-free. Augmented reality can also result in a digitally connected workforce that is equipped to carry out equipped to complete tasks more accurately, spend more time on the factory, and keep the production line running. It also means reduce downtime, increase efficiency. And with this, it also comes in the case of our post-COVID, where we could use augmented reality to build a resilient workforce, which is actually very crucial because when COVID arrived, we realized that we couldn't run our factory. We had to shut down. We realized that we had to work from home. And then what happened to our factory? What happened to our production line? So augmented reality become very crucial here, where we could build a resilient workforce that 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 can work a lot more efficiently as we live with COVID. So this actually is a very good video to demonstrate it. So we have to contend with health concern while yet we need to provide training. So augmented reality becomes very useful in this case because even if someone is somewhere at another location with a different set of COVID restriction, augmented reality training can still be carried out, and we can still accelerate the training process. So this actually is very relevant because we could then carry out many information and allow business continuity. So augmented reality can support business continuity and minimize the disruption caused by COVID and allow us to live with COVID. So the beauty of augmented reality is the simplicity. It's very simple. You just create what you want. So you create your own content when required. And that's what's so attractive about it. So whether it's your frontline worker, whether it's your frontline logistic person or your shop floor engineers, you can actually use augmented reality and provide information as is needed. So that is the beauty of augmented reality. And that's my end of my presentation. So I hope I've not spoken for too long. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
thank you.
If the participants have any queries or questions related to this session, you can ask to respected ma'am so that she would be able to provide you the answers and clear your queries. So we can use the 5 minutes for a question answer session. If not, we can call it the end of the session.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. It's our
Thanks a lot,
pleasure.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Professor. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am, for those wonderful, informative sessions shared for all of us. We are grateful to you for spending your valuable time with us. We really appreciate your acceptance for being a part of this conference, and thank you so much, ma'am, once again. Hope we'll have many more sessions of yours in future. We wish you all the very best for your endeavors. To that, we come to the end of the keynote session of our third IEEE International Conference on Intelligence Computing, Instrumentation, and Control Technologies 2022. I extend my gratitude to all the participants who have joined for the session. We appreciate your support and dedication. So, on behalf of whole Vimal Jodi Engineering College, I thank each one of you associated with this event. Once again, thank you all. Glancer, would you like to address the gathering since
Oh,
we are
my.
at the end of?
Okay. Thank you all, my dear participants. This is the end of our third keynote section of second day. Second day, and all the sessions you have actively participated, and on behalf of our ICICICT 2022 team, I thank all one and all present here. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I thank all of you who have joined for this conference
Hello.
and for all the
Yeah.
keynote session. Sir, I think
Around.
we have a query that could you please get her
Ah,
the mail ID? We have a query in in the chat box. So hope you would resolve the query. The participant who have asked for the mail ID of the resource person.
Esteemed guest of the evening, respected luminaries on the dais and off the dais, beloved principal, cherished faculty members, and dear students. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a beautiful evening, all soaked in the delighted frame of mind. On behalf of Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering of Vimal Jyoti Engineering College, I take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to the valedictory function of 3rd IEEE International Conference on Intelligent Computing, Instrumentation and Control Technologies 2022. This is an immensely exciting evening for our institute. The actively growing participation from different colleges every year affirms the relevance and meaningfulness of this conference. The conference was a synergy of knowledge, creativity, and talent quotient. I hope this event gelled with cerebral grilling and creative palate. Prayer is an invocation of the heart, a calling forth of divine energies to be manifested in one's life. Let us begin this session by invoking the Lord's blessing.
പ്രാർത്ഥനതൻ പാതയിൽ പൂക്കളായി വിരിയണം പൂവിരിഞ്ഞ വീഥികൾ പുണ്യവീഥികളാകണം പുണ്യവഴികളിലൂടെ നാം യാത്രയെന്നും ചെയ്യണം യാത്ര ചെയ്യും വേളയിൽ ഈശ്വരനെ ഓർക്കണം ഈശ്വരനാണെൻ ധനം ഈശ്വരനാണെൻ ബലം ഈശ്വരനാണെൻ ധനം ഈശ്വരനാണെൻ ബലം.
Words of welcome fill an occasion with warmth and makes one feel that he is meant to be there. I now request Dr. Christopher Errol Singh, Conference Co-Chair, ICICT 2022, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening to one and all, the participants and students and the faculty members in the dais and off the dais, principal and the chairman's management of the college. I would welcome our management, Father James Selangodu, the manager of the institution, to help us in all the occasions to conduct the event a grand success. I welcome on the absences of Father, and the next I would welcome our beloved principal, head of the institution, Dr. Benny Joseph, for his guidance throughout the conference. I welcome you, sir, on the behalf of the conference committee, ICICT 2022, and I would welcome the chief guest of the event, Dr. Karadel Sureka. On behalf of the conference, I would welcome you, sir. Next, I would welcome Dr. Marcido Celinio. On behalf of the conference committee, I welcome you, sir. And I welcome the conference chair, Dr. Glenn Devados, on this occasion. I welcome you, sir. And I would welcome the staff members, Mr. Danuj Mohan, the conference committee member. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Mr. Shinu Yam on behalf of the conference committee. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Dr. Andrew Sagadas, HOD of EC department, on behalf of the conference committee. I welcome you, sir. I welcome our PRO, Sebastian, sir, on behalf of the conference committee. I welcome you, sir. Next, Ms. Shamya, ma'am, on behalf of the conference committee. I welcome you, ma'am. So I welcome all the faculty members of this institution from various departments on this occasion to be here, and all the HODs of the institution. I welcome all of you once again, and I would thank all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, to present the conference report.
Good evening all. Good evening all. The Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering, Vimal Engineering College, takes immense pleasure in organizing the third IEEE International Conference on Intelligent Computing, Instrumentation and Control Technologies, ICICT 2022, on the 11th and 12th August 2022. The ICICT 2022 provides an opportune forum and vibrant platform for researchers, academicians, scientists, and industrial practitioners to share their research work, patents, findings, and practical development experiences on the specific new challenges and emerging issues confronting the nation. The conference was formally inaugurated on 11th August 2022 with the lighting of lamp by Mar Joseph Pamplani, Archbishop of Talasheri Diocese, in Monsignor Jacob Varicard Hall at 9:30 a.m. The principal of Vimal Engineering College, Dr. Benny Joseph, welcomed the gathering. The star-studded inaugural function enjoyed the presence of various luminaries, including Dr. Ajay V. Deshmukh, IIT Bombay, Dr. Carol L. Stex, Director, Bangkok University, Dr. Salma Bindi Karman, Senior Lecturer, University of Malaya, Dr. Maslow Skill, Professor, VIT, Sri Sharad M. Nair, Operations Manager, Tata LXI, Father James Jelangota, Manager, Vimal Jyoti Group of Institutions, Dr. Benny Joseph, Principal, Vimal Jyoti Engineering College, Father Jinu Vadakemanagal, Principal, Vimal Jyoti, Lasar Varambagat Barsar, Vimal Jyoti Group of Institutions, Dr. G. Glenn Devadas, Conference Chair, Vice Principal and HOD, Vimal Jyoti Engineering College. The inaugural function was followed by the first keynote address by Dr. Carl L. Sterex. The second keynote address was delivered by Dr. Salma Bindi Karman, and the third keynote address was developed by Marcelo Skillin, Professor, VIT, Vellore. The technical schedules were held at 10 different venues simultaneously in the afternoon. Earlier, from the 946 papers received from all over the world through the EC Chair submission system, authors from different countries like Australia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Cyprus, Ethiopia, India, Iran, Oman, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, USA, UAE were submitted their papers. The initial screening was done by Technical Program Committee based on the plagiarism check. The papers were initially screened undergoing the blind review system. These papers were subjected to the 2 reviewers by external and internal experts. 365 articles were shortlisted and 321 papers are here for the presentation. After a balanced review of the presentation, the technical chairs selected one best paper from each session, and those authors are awarded certificates. All the presented papers are submitted to IEEE for publication to the IEEE Digital Explorer. The extended version of the best technically qualified papers is processed to the Elsevier publication. The conference held over 2 days witnessed the participation of about 200 delegates from different parts of India and abroad. This event was technically co-sponsored by IEEE India Council India, which have helped us to gain the opportunity. Being the third international conference organized by the Electronics and Instrumentation Department, it has great significance. It brought together academicians, researchers, and industry experts from within and outside the country under one umbrella. From the Department of Electronics and Instrumentation, this is the unique landmark and the college another feather in its cap. Thank you and all.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, I now request our respected principal, Dr. Benny Joseph, Vimal Jyoti Engineering College, who is a source of inspiration for all of us to deliver the presidential address.
Good evening, all. The chief guest of the function, Dr. Carl L. Strux, other dignitaries, Dr. Marcelo Cellini, and the conference chair, Glenn Devadas, Mr. Danuj, Mr. Shino, Ms. Reshma, and conference co-chair Christopher, heads of departments, deans, my faculty colleagues, delegates from various colleges, dear students. From the report read by Mr. Danuj, it is very clear that the conference was a great success, and I believe there are few parameters or indicators. We had 300 international papers from number of countries, and out of which I understand 125 of them were physically presented here, and remaining 175 were online. It's quite an achievement having 300 papers presented, and I do hope that most of these papers will be published within few months in the journal. So that is a real logical conclusion of the conference and the achievement. So I take this opportunity to thank all those who have contributed to this success of this conference, especially Dr. Carl L. Strux and Marcelo Cellini, who have spared their valuable time to spend 2 complete days with us, and we also had keynote talks by them, and it was a great experience sharing moments with them. So I believe that all the delegates would have enjoyed their stay and would have had a fruitful interaction with the fellow delegates, and they will be taking away useful information and fresh memories of this place. So I once again thank one and all assembled here, and on behalf of the college, I express my sincere gratitude to all the keynote speakers and the delegates, and I hope that we will be meeting again soon. The college plans for more international conferences. Most of them will be in the interdisciplinary platform, so those who are present here today will definitely find an opportunity or find something which will be relevant to their own field in the coming conferences also. So we do hope that we'll be meeting again in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As once stated by Ryan Tedder, when you are around enormously successful people, you realize that Their success isn't an accident, but it's about hard work. I consider it a privilege to welcome the chief guest of today's valedictory function, Dr. Carol L. Sterix, Director, Bangkok University School of Engineering, Center of Research in Optoelectronics, Communications and Computational System. Sir, your presence is indeed a source of motivation. We look forward to your valedictory address today.
Good evening to all. At first, I wish to extend my very heartfelt congratulations to everyone in the organizing committee. Having organized conference myself before, I know it's a huge undertaking and that it involves many people who do a lot of effort actually. So could I please have a round of applause for the organizing committee? Then secondly, it gives me great pleasure to see so many young faces in the audience. And I also want to congratulate you. From what I understand is that less than 1/3 of the papers was accepted to be presented here. So you should be truly proud of that accomplishment. And I also hope you enjoyed each and every presentation that you gave, as well as listening to the presentation of your peers. Now, a conference is not only about keynotes and presenting papers, it is actually foremost a platform that allows you to make contacts and to extend your collaboration. So I do hope you also have taken the full chance of that opportunity here. And with this, I would like to thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful talk, and we are highly prerogative for your presence and support for this event. Who else would have a better and more appropriate person to address the gathering for the closing ceremony of this conference filled with energy and enthusiasm? I am privileged and delighted to have the opportunity to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Marcelo Scalini, Professor, VIT School of Design, V-Design, for felicitation.
Good evening all. It's nice to be here again, share some few words. First of all, similar what Professor has said here, I want to say my congratulations to all, from the coordinators, the management, and as well the students, because I've seen the empathy, that way that you look and you listen to us, and all the achievements, all the publications that you're going to be in the future. I hope that's going to be really a landmark, this event, that is up to be repeated in every year. And other thing here is that I want to express also my gratitude for being part of such an event. In a professional level, I can say that it's indeed is going to enhance my experience. And the other thing that it goes hand in hand is our personal level. Honestly, for many years I've been longing and I've been trying to come to Kerala to know the beauty of this part of the world. Definitely for many other countries that I have been working together with citizens of Kerala, I was very delighted and they were among my best friends. So one day I have dreamed that one day I would come to Kerala, and indeed it has happened. And honestly, I have fulfilled my dream in these 2 days. Really, it's beautiful corner of the world, due to the natural beauty and the empathy and the seriousness of its own peoples. I really enjoyed these 2 days, and my last stance on this is that we really want to congratulate you, especially the students, and we trust and we wish our best wishes and for your future, and we trust that by your eyes, the way you have received all of these words, is that yes, you're going to fulfill the mission that is to improve not only Kerala, but the whole world. Really trust that all of you, you're going to fulfill this mission. So once again, I say thank you to all, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those inspiring words, and we are absolutely illustrious for your presence with us for this conference. Now, we'll be having a photo session of yesterday's released proceedings. Firstly, we'll be having the photo session of conference proceedings.
So they just want to post it because they want to have one in everybody.
Next, we have the photo session of releasing the souvenir. Finally, we have the photo session of releasing the CD proceedings. Thank you everyone for those photo session. I compliment all the participants of our third IEEE International Conference on Intelligent Computing, Instrumentation and Control Technologies 2022 with such wonderful participants awaiting the results of their performance in the event. The time is apt to redeem them from their curiosity. Without much ado, I call upon Dr. Anto Sahayadas, Conference Publication Chair, to take over the prize distribution ceremony by announcing the Best Paper Awards.
A very fine good evening to one and all present here. So this is the time to reveal the best paper, those who are presented through offline, not online, in the 11 venues. So I just call upon the first best paper in the venue number 1. That's paper ID 583. The title is FSS Loaded CPW Fed Arc Slot Quatrefoil Shape Antenna for Q-band applications in 5G spectrum applications, and is presented by Mr. Arun TR. Then the venue 2. The second venue, the paper ID is 847. which is on the title Performance Analysis of Clustered-Based Underwater Wireless Sensor Network by Deploying Applications as CBR, which is presented by Mr. K. Satish. The third venue, the best paper is paper ID 239. The title is Analysis of the Effect of Black Box Adversarial Attacks on Medical Image Classification Models by Ms. Mary Anita Rajam. And the fourth venue, the paper ID is 883. The title is Deep Learning Techniques to Detect Learning Disabilities Among Children Using Handwriting, which is presented by Mr. Vishnu Chandran and Venkatesh. And the venue 5, the best paper ID is 811. The title is Design of Secure Lightweight PRNG Circuit Using LFSR for Portable IoT Devices, which is presented by Mr. Aghilesh Kumar Chaudhary. And the venue 6, the best paper is paper ID 469. And the title, An Improvised Water Architecture for TMR with Reduced Area Overhead, which is presented by Ms. Deepa and Ms. Augusta Sophie. And the venue number 7, the best paper is paper ID 892. And the title is Simulation of Nonlinear Proportional Integral Differential Controller for a Nonlinear Model of a Hexoon EDU 450 quadrilateral aerial robot, which is presented by Dr. Indran Trinavkaras and Mr. Suraj Suresh Kumar. And in the venue number 8, the best paper is paper ID 672 on the topic Effects of Various Faults on Power Quality Parameters in an Isolated Microgrid, which is presented by Mr. Navaneet Kaur. And in venue number 9, the best paper is paper ID 222. And the title is Modeling and Simulation of Electric Furnace in Steel Industry for Power Quality Disturbances, which is presented by Mr. Vikram Datta. And the venue number 10, the best paper is paper ID 398. And the title is Medicine Assistance Application for Visually Impaired People, which is presented by Dr. Veda Priya Vadana. And in the venue number 11, the best paper is paper ID 525. The title is Combining Near-Infrared Hyperspectral Imaging and ANN for Varietal Classification of Wheat Seeds, which is presented by Ms. Apurva Sharma and Mr. Tarandeep Singh. So, I extend my hearty congratulations to all the selected best papers presenters on behalf of the organizing committee of ICICICT 2022. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Anybody from the audience side willing to give the feedback of the conference, you can come forward and use the stage for giving the feedback.
Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Dr. Mary Anita Rajam, working as professor at College of Engineering, Guindy and University, Chennai. And I'm happy and delighted to stand before you to give this feedback today. And overall, the organization of the conference was excellent. And right from the beginning, from when we submitted the paper, it was through EasyChair, so there was no problem at all. And then after the paper got accepted, there was proper communication about how we need to send the camera ready and so on, so that was also fine. And then we booked the tickets, came over here. They were option for both offline as well as online presentation, and that also went on very well. And we came here, and the keynote speakers, they are beautiful keynote speakers, like wonderful talks from different areas, from different countries. And all the talks were very good. And they're also available on YouTube. We can even watch them later. So that was a very nice thing that was done here. And then the delicious afternoon, delicious Kerala food. It was very nice. I enjoyed the food. And then the afternoon sessions, the offline presentations, all happened in time and proper arrangements for PowerPoint presentation. They even collected the PPTs earlier so that everything will go on fine. And the evening picnic. we went to a place called, I forgot, some Thattu, I don't know, some hill, Palakayam Thattu, right. So we went to that place and it was nice going trekking, and we enjoyed that. We were there till around 6, 7 o'clock. Arrangements were made in jeeps to go to that place because I think the regular vehicles will not go there. So we enjoyed that. And again today I think everything went on fine, and the stay was also wonderful. So overall I'll say the organization of the conference was very good, and special thanks and I should mention Dr. Danoj and Dr. Shinu, who were always there for communicating and taking our whatever queries and so on. So I was actually communicating with them. So thank you one and all for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If anybody else from the audience side, you want to share your feedback about the conference, you can move forward and come to the stage for sharing your experience. Okay, we shall move forward. Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. Ralph Emerson believed that the reward of a thing well done is having done it. However, we would be falling short of a duty if we did not recognize a thing well done and encourage it. For that, may I now request Professor Shamya A., Public Relations Chair, ICICT 2022, to render the acknowledgement by delivering the vote of thanks.
Respected Principal, Dr. Benny Joseph sir, then our most valued invited delegates, Dr. Carol L. Strax, Dr. Marcelo Cellini, respected Manager Father James Chellankot, and respected Conference Chair, Dr. G. Glan Devdas, then our conference organizing chair members, Mr. Danoj M., Finance Chair Member Mr. Shinu M., beloved participants, staffs and students of Vimaljyoti Engineering College, good evening to one and all. As we come to the end of the third international conference ICT 2022, organized by Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering, now it's my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to all who have helped and made this event a grand success. First of all, I thank Lord Almighty for showering His blessings abundantly on this precious occasion. Next, I would like to thank, in absence, our Honorable Patron, Archbishop of Tellicherry, His Excellency Dr. Mar Joseph Pamplani, for his kind presence and the inspirational inaugural address delivered. On behalf of ICICT 2022, I thank our respected principal, Dr. Benny Joseph sir, for his guidance and support to make the international conference a grand success. I would like to invite our conference chair, Dr. G. Glan Devdas, for present the memento. Okay. Next, on behalf of ICICT 2022, I like to express our sincere thanks to the delegates, Dr. Carol L. Strax, Dr. Marcelo Cellini, Dr. Salma Binti Karman, Dr. Vinay Kumar Ravi, Dr. Sheikh Muhammad S., Professor Ong So Kim, who have come to be a part of this auspicious moment to share their relevant knowledge and precious time. On this time, I would like to invite our principal, Dr. Benny Joseph sir, to present the memento to the invited delegates. Sir. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our father, Sony Varshiril, Assistant Manager of VJAC, for his supports to this event. And so I would like to invite our conference chair, Dr. G. Gland Devdas, for present the mementos to Father Sony. Thank you, Father. Next, I would like to thank Father Jinu Vadakamilanjil, Principal of VJM, then our manager, Father James Chellankot. In their absence, I would like to thank to all to make all the supports given for this event. And also, I would like to thank our conference chair, Dr. G. Gland Devdas, for his sincere efforts and pain taken for planning and organizing the conference and make the events a grand success. And with his strong support and advice only, we can conduct the 3 international conferences, and these 3 conferences make a success one. So, thank you, sir. Next, I would like to express sincere thanks to our conference organizing chair, Mr. Danoj M, for his excellency in managing the event. He is one among the backbone of the conference team. On behalf of Department of Electronics and Instrumentation, I thank you, Mr. Danoj. Next, I would like to express sincere thanks to our conference finance chair, Mr. Shinu M, for his efforts given to coordinate the event registrations and finance management all on behalf of ICT 2022 and Department of Electronics and Instrumentation. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to express heartfelt gratitude goes to our beloved organizing team for their proper planning, guiding and supporting team leaders. That is Miss Reshma KV, Miss Jinsa Matthew, our alumnis Muhammad Salim, Anu Sajib for their hard works to make this event a grand success. And next, I would like to express the thank for chairpersons who have come to this event conference for chairing the sessions and evaluating the papers. Also express sincere thanks to all the volunteers and venue managers for handling each sessions at their respective venues in a good manner. Next, I would like to thank and appreciate Ms. Mriduna Ma'am, Assistant Professor of VGM, for her excellent anchoring given for the program. And also next, I thank all the participants who have come over from all over the world and presented their innovative ideas. And also thank all the staffs and students of EI department who are tirelessly worked for the success of the program. And also I express sincere thanks to the heads of other departments who are given additional manpowers and supports given for the conference and make the events we can conduct the events in a smooth way. So thank you all the other departments heads. We thank all the staffs of VJC who put their hands to make the events successful. So once again, thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, ma'am. To that, finally, we have come to the end of this event, 3rd IEEE International Conference on Intelligent Computing, Instrumentation and Control Technologies 2022. But we believe there is never an end, but always a beginning. On this note, let's conclude a remarkable, memorable and knowledgeable event. On behalf of the institution, we sincerely thank the dignitaries for being with us this evening and enlightening us with the enthusiastic remarks. Congratulations to all the coordinators of this event for making this event a grand success. I shower my heartfelt gratitude to everyone for their wholehearted support rendered in the success of this event. Thank you very much and have a wonderful and fun-filled evening. We are reminded that events like this are milestones on the journey of life and reminders of God's fidelity all through. National Anthem, a patriotic musical composition symbolizing and evoking eulogies of the history and traditions of a nation. As an expression of national identity, I request all of you to rise for the National Anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे